I'm John Skinner, and this supports Chapter 5 of my book, Fishing for Summer Flounder, Fluke Jigging from Shore Boat and Kayak, and you can learn more about the book at flounderbook.com. On this trip, I'm using an 1.5-ounce bucktail with a plain 3.0 Gamakatsu bait holder hook as the teaser, 1 foot ahead of that. Both are tipped with 4-inch Berkley Gulp Alive swimming mullets. So inlets are great places to fish for a variety of species. They act as fish highways in a way because they connect bodies of water, and you've got bait flushing in and out, you have current and irregular bottom structure, so they just tend to be very good places to target numerous kinds of game fish. Now, inlets are very productive for summer flounder, also called fluke in some parts of the country, but they're also challenging that you often have to deal with strong currents and some deeper water. So there's some things you have to keep in mind when you want to do this sort of light tackle jigging to target fluke in this environment. So the water's moving along at a pretty good clip from my right to left, but I've chosen a spot where there's a little bend in the jetty, and you can see just up current to the right there's a rip line there, and to the left of that rip line the water's moving a little bit slower. So that's what I'm targeting, is the slower water. There's the retrieve, very, very painstakingly slow, because I've got current that's sweeping that jig down current, down to my left. So fishing areas where you've got a bend in the jetty or a rip line and using careful cast placement is one way of fishing slower water. Another obvious way is just to fish around the times of slack current or slack tide. If you fish like 90 minutes either side of a slack high or slack low, you're going to have some slower moving currents that are often very suitable for this kind of fishing. And here's a dumb mistake. You know, where's my net, right? The net's up on top of the jetty. It really should have been placed where I could get to it. It's okay. This is an okay fluke. Once we get it up a little bit higher, we'll get a better look and see that you know, this one is halfway decent. I'm fishing an 18-inch minimum size limit, and this guy's a little bit over 19 inches, so it's going to go home for dinner. So it can be dangerous getting down into the jetty rocks. I'm actually wearing felt-soled shoes, so it's they're a little bit better for having some traction, and sometimes on some jetties you'll have to wear spikes. Two things to watch here are the cast placement and how long I let that jig settle before I start the retrieve. See, I'm going just up current of that rip line, but I'm not going to start reeling right away. I'm going to let that jig settle. I have between 10 and 15 feet of water in front of me. With an 1.5-ounce bucktail, I'm able to get down to that near bottom strike zone and start that rapid jigging that catches the attention of the fish. The rod in this case is a 7.5-foot Penn Regiment rated for 10 to 17 pound test line. The reel is a Penn Clash 4000. I'm using 15-pound test braid, and I'm using a 25-pound test fluorocarbon leader for the rig. I go just slightly heavier. I normally use 20. I'm using 25 because of the jetty rocks. So the bottom kind of slopes up from the main channel here, and that's a great place for the fluke to be hanging, right along that edge, and that's exactly where this fish hits. Now this is a good one, and I've got to crank aggressively here because you run the risk of getting snagged on the steep jetty rocks going down into the bottom of the channel there. So trying to put a lot of pressure on this fish right away. The largest fish are often close to the rocks, but it can be tricky fishing there because you run the risk of hanging bottom. Alright, the net is where it belongs this time, and it's a good thing. This is where it's very easy to lose the fish, is when you're descending the rocks. You have to be careful not to introduce any slack in the line. So you'll notice as I descend, I'm going to grab that reel handle and try to pick up any line and make sure I've got a bend in the rod at all times. A fun thing about fluke or summer flounder fishing is that you can catch them in so many different environments, and the book really goes through all of these different environments: the bay, the ocean, sound waters, jetties, and beaches, wading sandbars and everything else, and it's part of what makes this fishery so much fun. All right, this fish ended up weighing a little bit over 6 pounds. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I would encourage you to check out the book Fishing for Summer Flounder, and you can learn more about that at flounderbook.com.